Yeah, hey, welcome back to the Made in America show. I am the Cajun contractor Michael King, and I'd like to welcome the Made in America guy himself, Mr. Greg Owens. Greg, welcome, my buddy, again. I miss you this week.
Michael, great to be back with you. Looking forward to another good show.
Yeah, got a jam-packed show, a lot of information, so I'm going to jump right into this right quick. Let's just do a little recap because about last week with the tariff situation, we got into some heavy, deep stuff here. And I think after having the discussion we had last week, I think I really need to introduce on this show that I will be running for president. No way, Jose. But everybody's jumping into the 28 race, man, So Stephen Smith's getting in now and lot going on, but let's recap what's going on. We had a great our phones lit up, our social media lit up, and you just explained it so. And your guest last week just explained it so adequately, exactly what we're talking about, and putting the main information, not the mainstream stuff that they think that they want you to know, but actually the information we need to know. So this is just a little recap from last week.
Well, I would say one thing, we run a business that is competing against imports, and we've been benchmarking almost on a daily basis the prices of our competitors, and we've seen absolutely zero change. Some of this could have to do with the fact that they've brought in stuff in anticipation of tariffs, and they're going to sell it off, and then it'll hit at some later point in time, maybe 6 months from now. But the other interesting thing that nobody talks about in the media, they love to talk about inflation. If you put a 50% tariff, does that mean the price goes up by 50%? Well, that is not going to happen. And a lot of companies have started rearranging their billings to do what's called a surcharge. So remember, tariffs are levied on the cost when you import something. So if you have a 50% markup and you're selling something for $100, you only spent $50 at the border. And that's what the tariff is levied on. So those markups could be anywhere from 17% in a Costco mass market to 90% at a company like Williams-Sonoma. So that's interesting. But in terms of the major shift last week that probably gets past folks is Lutnick at Commerce was really driving the bus along with Trump on the tariffs. And he, of course, got up with the president and with their boards and showed the percentages by each country. That sort of shifted to Treasury, which is normally where the battle's been fought. That may have had a lot to do with the turbulence on Wall Street, but Bassnett seems to have shifted into the premier position in the negotiation process. And jury's still out on that one. I think he's going to follow the president's mission, but probably with a little bit less drama than you saw from Lutnick and Commerce.
Well, I think when Trump said it himself, and to be honest with you, I need to tell you, I took advantage when before the stock market opened on the day it just exploded. I listen every morning, and I was online with my broker. I mean, I bought a lot of stuff early that morning. I made a lot of money that night. But the point I'm trying to, that wasn't inside trading, because the president actually said, I would suggest you to go buy some stock this morning. He even said it because the uncertainty, and then when he addressed the certainty of the uncertainty, if that made sense, then the stock market just exploded and went into a stratosphere, But he also said since last week, I pay attention to everything he says because he just tells you if you want to listen, because he basically said, look, people, I will be flexible, but I don't forget. I'm flexible, but I don't forget. So what he did this morning, he took the electronics, he took the computers, he took certain software, and what he did, he waived that temporarily because he understands. So to have a president that will be flexible but stern, so what if he changes his mind? I don't care. As long as he changes his mind for the American people. You understand what I'm getting at here?
Yeah. Michael, I think this is going to be a long process. It's obviously been extended by 90 days. It's a negotiating process.
Yeah.
And the end game is to drive down the trade deficits with our friends and adversaries and open up markets for U.S. products where we've been blocked out for years. And if we can move that needle in a substantial way, and it's a win for America.
Yeah.
And that's what he's really looking for. What that's going to look like 90 days from now,
we don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah. But I also want to make another point. We got to move on. I want to make another point that the mainstream media is not about tariffs. And I know I'm harping on tariffs here, but I'm going to go back. And the president said it himself. He gave a great education. He said, look, from 18 somewhat to 19 somewhat, the only source of income source to the American Treasury was tariffs. That's how we didn't have income tax. We didn't have payroll tax. We didn't have all that. So he understood that tariffs was the basics of income producing. But now he's taking it to another level. It's on steroids. So it goes from, the $2 billion a day that we're making, but nobody's mentioning that but him. But it also understands that it's bringing the trade balance back into. And I need to tell you, and he was 100% right. I was listening to one of the hosts this morning. When I went to Japan, I want to say a couple of years ago, and this was a couple of years ago. You know what vehicle I didn't see on the street?
An American car.
That's right. I saw no Cadillacs. I saw no nothing. I didn't see one American. Now, this is an ally of the United States, Japan. I didn't see one of our cars. So we all agree that something has to be done. But that's what I told my staff, when Trump got sworn in the second time. I said, people, listen to this. And I said it on this show, my show, and your show. And I mentioned and said, look, this man has nothing to lose. He's got 4 years. So he's not bounded by the norm. He's got 4 years to do the right thing. And he's doing the right thing. Is he going to make mistakes? Of course he's going to make mistakes. But he has sense enough to understand that he can change. And finally, I know we got to get on. I listened to Bill Maher this morning, and he came. Everybody knows that Bill Maher, due to Kid Rock, and he had dinner with the president, and he said the way it is. I met Donald Trump back in 92 when he was when I was producing some shows on Cox Cable down here when he came down for The Apprentice. I met him. I got a picture with him. I met him and talked to him for 10 minutes. And I need to tell you, the guy you see on the podium, and I will back this up too, the guy you see on the podium every day is not the guy you see behind the scenes. Because I tell you what, he is funny, he is jokeful, he's not vengeful, and he will sit there and ask you, what do you think about this? He wants to hear your feedback.
Michael, I had the exact same experience in meeting him during his first term a couple times. Very jovial, very kind of joking around, and just a pleasant person to be around. But also something else about him, he listens. When we were sitting around the round table and he was going around from manufacturer to manufacturer listening to our stories, the feedback that he would give us, the comebacks that he would have, the questions that he would ask, indicated to me that he was clearly listening to what we were saying. He wasn't just waiting for his turn in the spotlight like a normal politician would. Very, very refreshing.
Yeah, and I think his problem is a New Yorker. Now, I've met New Yorkers. I'm not from New York. I've met New Yorkers.
Hey, now, I'm a New Yorker kind of.
I know, but at the end of the day, they're scared that you're going to take kindness for weakness. And they're just not weak people. They're strong people. And that's what it's all about. So they put this big – in the South, it's totally different, But up there, it's a whole different ballgame when it comes to kindness for weakness. And I think that's what it is. What you see in public is not what you see behind the scenes.
This is a coherent group of people on a mission. It's a little bit chaotic right now because it's uncharted territory, and that's what you'd expect.
Yeah.
I expect them to keep the focus on.
Well, we're going to have to take a short break. This is the Made in America show. When we come back, we're going to have another guest, another topic right here on the King's Broadcasting Network. Y'all stay tuned. Yay! I'm going to be back with Greg.
From Philly to Fresno, Brooklyn to Boston, Data Cable Superstars has the best prices on installation of Cat 5 and Cat 6 wiring for cameras, computers, phone, and data, specializing in off-peak installs as to not interrupt your workflow. If this is an I need it done yesterday situation, then it's time to call Data Cable Superstars at 203-942-1427 or go to datacablesuperstars.com. That's Data Cable Superstars, all one word, .com. Data Cable Superstars, where estimates and big ideas are always free.
Welcome back, everybody, to Home Talk USA on the King Broadcasting Network. This is the Made in America Hour. I'm your host, Greg Owens. I'm here with Scott Toll and Nelson Wills. Before we get to them, so they can introduce themselves to you, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor for this segment, Bond Products, with their product InstaBond. If you have a frayed carpet or are doing some DIY carpet installation, there's only one InstaBond, and you can find them at bondproducts.com. Scott, Nelson, welcome to the program. We had an exciting introduction talking a little bit about what's going on in D.C. There's a lot to talk about there. But what I'd like to do at this point, Nelson, if you'd like to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your background, where you're from, education. I think I saw Clemson in there somewhere. And the businesses that you're involved in and why you're such a supporter of Made in USA.
Absolutely. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate you having Scott and I on. And yeah, everything made in the U.S. We've got to support ourselves and just maintain our lead in the global economy and improve that position ultimately. But I've been in the metal manufacturing industry for, 22, 23 years, somewhere in there. Grew up in South Carolina in the Low Country, went to school at Clemson, studied construction science and management, got involved in the automation world, so manufacturing shortly after school, and then moved into metal part manufacturing, basically making things for building products. Just a number of applications. Joined the Short Run Pro team 3 years ago, and have just had fun under the different brands, which we'll get into, that service different industries. But everything we say made in North Carolina, it's just fine tuned, the USA part. But made in North Carolina, shipped across the country. Short Run Pro is a custom metal manufacturing company that Scott started 18 years ago, which birthed Federal Brace, which is support brackets, floating shelving, interior support elements, as well as exterior. We powder coat, use a lot of stainless. The other brand is Killarney Metals. We make spill containment pans, and our operations are basically the same across all the companies. We take sheet goods, sheet metal, we laser cut, we form, we weld, and we coat. The third brand, or really fourth brand, is OVO. We make computer mounts, things for electronics industry, basically, also gaming industry. So all made, like I said, in North Carolina. We diversify and we grow through innovation, and we stay ahead of foreign competition. So does that help? A little bit of background.
That helps immensely. In fact, as I was reading the website today, we own a flatware manufacturing company up in New York, and all of our equipment was designed on site over the last 50 years. We downsized back from the Oneida days from 1 million square feet down to 150,000. We're starting to run out of some of the supports and some of the product, some of the pieces on the equipment that's wearing out. So I sent your contact information to our purchasing manager because every once in a while we'll need to buy short runs of things that are very unique, nothing that you can go down to Granger and buy. And maybe you guys can help them out with that.
We love doing it. We'd be honored to.
Yeah, we do that all day long, Greg.
And then in the last part of the segment, maybe Scott, you want to introduce yourself. They were talking about Invent America and prototyping and patenting things. And that's another area that you guys get involved in, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So my background, as Nelson kind of hinted to, I'm also from the custom metal side of things, but even before that, I cut my teeth on the internet marketing and internet commerce back during the .com bubble bust of 2000. So we were using Google before Google was Google, and learned all about search engine optimization and all that. Out of that, and with the expertise on the manufacturing side, we built marketplaces, particularly for solutions, metal solutions for customers looking for one-off parts that they needed. We worked for everybody who had a fence in the backyard, all the way up to defense contractors, running prototype work, running one-off short run type things, and oftentimes sometimes those would develop into larger manufacturing opportunities. And so out of that, we grew brands. The brands that Nelson mentioned grew out of that because in Form, we built a buying intelligence engine where people were telling us, I'm having a hard time finding these types of metal parts for this type of application. And so we turned into a bit of a market maker and a brand developer, but utilizing the expertise within the metal manufacturing to solve the problems for the customers. And so our model has always been built upon listening to people, hearing what they need, and seeing if we can work out a way of manufacturing it on the custom side.
Well, one of the exciting things that's going on right now is this concept of reshoring. And we know that they're not going to be able to bring back all the manufacturing that we've lost over the last 30, 40 years, but a lot of it is going to come back. Some of it will, as you mentioned, will be DoD related. There's the AI boom that's coming up, and you mentioned things for housings for electronics. I would imagine there's going to be a huge opportunity there. So let's start out. We're going to have to take a break here pretty quick, but talk about some of the excitement that you're maybe feeling and the opportunities of being a support company for a lot of these manufacturers that are going to need your services.
Yeah, well, Greg, I think you're exactly right. I think the onshoring opportunities that are going to come from what the current administration is doing, I think are going to be significant. The question is on our side is how do we address those in a manner that solves the customer's immediate needs as well as takes into account the pain points of costs, right? Because I think there's going to have to be some kind of compromise on both the consumer side as well as the manufacturing side for us to onshore some of these more, let's say, more commodity style products if that's going to happen.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. This is Home Talk USA on the King Broadcasting Network. This is the Made in America Hour. We'll be right back.
Tired of struggling just for your customers to notice you? Your business needs Constant Contact. Constant Contact's award-winning marketing platform has helped millions of small businesses stand out, stay top of mind, and see big results. With powerful tools like email, SMS, social media, and events, you'll say the right thing at the right time to sell more, raise more, and fast-track growth. Plus, everything's backed by Constant Contact's expert live customer support. So get going and growing with Constant Contact today. Try it free at ConstantContact.com.
Welcome back, everybody, to Home Talk USA on the King Broadcasting Network. I'm your host, Greg Owens, and this is the Made in America Hour. Before we get back with Scott and Nelson, I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsor for this segment, Aztec Washer. Revolutionary and innovative roofing products since 1968. Their motto is seal it right, seal it tight. You can find them at aztecwasher.com. Welcome back, gentlemen. And when we left off the last segment, we were talking about some of the opportunities, hopefully many opportunities, that are going to arise as a result of this realignment of global trade and hopefully quite a bit of onshoring. How fired up are you guys about this?
We're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
And we've already seen some of it, and you know we've got to be strategic that fits our business, our model. But yeah, we're ready to go.
Well, I'm just thinking, like we were talking in the first segment, there, you know, we have this flatware manufacturing facility that could quadruple in size. And if we do that, we're going to have to pull an awful lot of equipment back online. We're going to have to revamp some of that equipment. We're going to need the onesie twosie, you know, crankshaft, or I know you guys are into flat roll metal forming, but there's going to be all sorts of things that we're going to need. That should just represent a huge opportunity for your company and others, maybe not in the same exact business, but other things. When you turn on the news, they always want to show the 2 million square foot solar panel plant or something like that. What the SBA that's going on a roadshow recognizes is that over 90% of the manufacturing jobs in this country are small businesses like yours and mine. They're not the mega manufacturing centers. Those are the ones that are really going to benefit from this. I can't wait. What's your take on that?
No, I agree. It's going to be the businesses around 100 employees that are nimble and can take on new challenges without, you know, moving a battleship or changing directions, which we're set up well to do as the reshoring continues. This is, I mean, it's just starting. So you know, we're geared up and we're ready to help our fellow Americans out.
And another, go ahead.
Yeah, just help each other out producing parts.
Yeah. Another thing that I read in the Wall Street Journal this morning, which has just taken a total globalist approach. It's sort of fun to watch them melt down every day with some of the articles they're writing. But they wrote an article about small businesses that are owned by dad, like myself, and my son works in our business. And that the kids are having a hard time maybe finding that entry-level corporate job that they could have found a couple of years ago. And they're going to work for mom and dad and going to take over the business, that there's a real boom in that. And, you know, you sort of wonder where the employees are going to come from. They might be sitting across the table from you at dinner, right?
Absolutely. And for those founders who have that second generation available to take over, I mean, that's a wonderful asset to be able to transfer that knowledge base. And there is going to be there's a huge knowledge base that has to be transferred over to the next generation for them to carry that on. At the same time as you're talking about, the expanding of our manufacturing base as a whole has to grow. So I think that there's a challenge there, but there's also an awesome opportunity among family-owned smaller businesses to transition to the next generation.
Well, it's been a conversation down in D.C. and on the news about the trades. You've heard about that. President Trump has talked about it extensively, getting kids out of Walmart and the Apple Store into the trades. I happen to know a couple of my son's friends who, you know, they went out and got the quintessential history, French major, whatever it was. And then they ended up going back for a 2-year HVAC program with the idea of learning that trade and starting their own business. And as business people, owning your own business is a wonderful thing for many aspects. Even if it's a small HVA thing with 4 or 5 guys working, you can make a very, very good living doing that. And you're not dependent on the whims of some crazy boss somewhere, right?
Exactly. The ability to schedule, to manage your own schedule. I mean, just that alone in the hands of these young guys, I think that's going to be a wonderful incentive for them to get involved in their own business. And I love, along the trade side, I love what Mike Rowe is doing. I really do think that we need to encourage the next generation to not go through that normal path of having to do the 4-year education and then figure out that it's okay to go to trade. Let's go to trade. Let's start working and getting those businesses started up now, rather than having to get the superfluous 4-year degree from the university.
And it's not just, when a lot of people think of manufacturing, they think of Laverne and Shirley at the end of the line putting caps on the beer bottles. It's engineers, it's cost accountants, it's all sorts of high-paid professional degrees that the populations of people working in the United States have faded to almost zero on those type things. And if we do have a resurgence, which I expect we'll have in manufacturing, a lot of those jobs will be coming back as well. So RIT up in New York, those engineers, buckle your seatbelts, because you're going to have lots of opportunities, right?
That's right.
Okay. We're probably coming up on the end of another segment here in a couple minutes, but I'd like you guys to talk a little bit more about the products that you sell. When I saw you at the trade show down in Las Vegas, there were some shelving units that you had. How do you go to market with those? Are they wholesale? Do you go on a website and buy them? Talk a little bit about those products.
Well, both to answer that. Wholesale distribution, working with OEMs, people that are builders, contractors, but also retail facing, where a consumer can go to our federalbrace.com website and purchase a tactical concealed shelf, which was one of the more exciting products that you saw at Las Vegas. Also newer, but basically storage inside shelving. But beyond that, we do mantles, we do vanity supports, bench supports, and that's just under the Federal Brace brand. So both wholesale and retail.
And what's the website again? How would they find the products?
Federalbrace.com.
Federalbrace.com. And what would be the profile of a typical consumer that you'd have? What would they be looking to do? Why would they be doing it? And why should they buy yours?
A lot of them are looking to better utilize their space in their home. We basically help you expand your square footage 2 square feet at a time, whether if it's a larger countertop, larger overhang, additional vanity supports, again, bench seating and shelving, which can be utilized in just about every room. So, the average floating shelf, 2 or 3 square feet, that adds up. Yeah.
So federalbrace.com, check them out. I'm going to be doing some home remodeling here coming up, so I'll be on there doing my shopping.
Nice.
As we transition into the next segment, I know you guys, like Michael, follow the news, and there's been a lot of it lately. I'd like to start getting your take on how these tariffs are going to help or hurt you. I don't know. And perhaps the specific opportunities, without giving away the secret sauce, that you guys are going to be looking to expand upon. Where are we headed with this thing, and why is it so exciting? But before we do that, we are going to have to take a break. This is Home Talk USA on the King Broadcasting Network. I'm your host, Greg Owens. This is a Made in America Hour. I'm here with Scott Toll and Nelson Wills from Short Run Pro. Killarney Metals, am I pronouncing that correct? Federal Brace, which we
Killarney Metals.
About. All right, and we'll be back shortly with more from Scott and Nelson.
How would you like to get a free smartphone? If you own a smartphone, listen to this incredible offer that's almost too good to be true. Right now, you can switch your plan and get service with us for as little as $2 a day. Guaranteed for life. Plus, get a free smartphone every year. Call the free smartphone hotline now and we'll move your number from your existing service. Think of your savings. So don't wait. Switch your plan, save money, plus get a free smartphone every year. Call the free smartphone hotline hotline right now, we guarantee you're going to love our service. If you don't like what we say, you can hang up on us. But you won't. Right now, you can switch your plan and get service with us for as little as $2 a day. Guaranteed for life. Call the free smartphone hotline right now. 800-339-0930. 800-339-0930. 800-339-0930. That's 800-339-0930.
Welcome back, everybody, to Home Talk USA on the King Broadcasting Network. I'm your host, Greg Owens. This is the Made in America Hour. In our final segment today, we're going to get back with Scott and Nelson, talk a little bit about what's going on in the world. But before we do that, I'd like to give out a shout out to our sponsor from this segment, Lion Energy. You can go anywhere with portable power solar generators. You can find them at lionenergy.com. Scott, Nelson, welcome back. And in this last segment, I just want to have a general discussion on where you think we're headed with these tariffs, where this negotiation process is going, and how you specifically see that it may help or hinder your business, hopefully help. Gentlemen, floor is open.
Well, I mean, it's going to be a challenge to navigate. Just cold rolled pricing is up 25% over the last few weeks. From Short Run Pro and all of our brands standpoint, we're as insulated as it gets. All of our raw materials are coming from domestic mills. However, the mills don't let a price increase opportunity go to waste. So
no, they don't.
We're going to see the prices stay higher. We believe they're going to plateau, maybe come down in the next month or two. But again, being a domestically sourced domestic manufacturer, we're in a good spot, but we definitely have some headwinds. You mentioned in the last show, Greg, that as you and Mike were talking, surcharges are going to be the primary way to combat some of these short-term changes as we work out how this thing flushes long-term. But at the end of the day, the opportunity is that domestically sourced, domestic manufacturing insulates us a good bit from the imports, which are going to have much more drastic headwinds.
Right. And in the last 3-4 years where we've experienced some significant wage inflation, which Bob Lighthizer pointed out in one of his interviews with Tucker Carlson, when the globalists get up there and they start talking about, oh my goodness, that now we're going to have a worker shortage, wages are going to go up. Bob looked at him and said, isn't that exactly what we want to happen, is for the middle class to be able to make a reasonable living again? But in the flatware industry, we've seen that. We've seen our metal prices go up, particularly at the end of the pandemic. And that inflation on us hurt our business. Pricing and stuff coming in from China, Vietnam, Indonesia didn't hardly change at all. I'm hopeful that some of these tariffs will come in there and start leveling that playing field, which is an overused topic. How much does foreign competition impact your ability to sell, and what is your thought process going forward on how tariffs may help you out?
So, Greg, we do have, because we're in the different markets, we do have varying degrees of influence by international or overseas product manufacturing. One of our brand in the electronics field, with the electronics mount, that's almost 100% produced overseas by our competitors, and we're likely, I think we're the only brand that is U.S. manufactured entirely, our whole line. Where on the other side, at Killarney Metals with the drip pans, the vast majority of the products are manufactured in the United States because of their size and because of the size of the market at this particular moment in time doesn't demand it. It's mostly made in the United States. So we really face a variety of different challenges as far as international production is concerned. We see the tariffs as a competitive advantage for us. We would like to see some of these let's call them lower quality products see a raise in their costs, so there can be a more competitive field in terms of pricing. But as a whole, we don't see a major shift in our markets related to the tariffs. I think it was either you or Michael in the last segment mentioned the fact that we're just not seeing the impact of the tariffs yet. It's not coming out, and it's going to be interesting to see what these other countries do. I think some of them are going to hold out, and then some of them are going to come along, and we'll realize the benefit of those things. But there may not be a significant or a huge tsunami change in the market as far as pricing is concerned.
Well, yeah, I think there's going to be, my opinion, at least 90 days, probably 6 months. Maybe you won't even see it till Christmas time on the consumer side, because people have stocked up and there's going to be all sorts of evasive measures. I don't know if you picked up on the de minimis issue that finally, after years of lobbying about it down in Washington, has come to the forefront. It's that special loophole where you can set up a warehouse in Mexico, bring in a bunch of stuff from China or wherever, and as long as the retail price is under $800, it circumvents all of the duties that are in place. There are warehouses all over Mexico, all over Canada set up to do that. So we're looking forward to having that be eliminated by the Trump administration, and then you're really, in our particular product and any sort of consumer focused marketing efforts that you might have, going to see the impact take hold.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming up on the end of the hour here. It goes too quickly. I think we probably have a lot more to talk about, and we'll have to have you gentlemen back on the show at some point in time, maybe after these tariffs take hold and the globalization comes to an end and we see where it all settles out, to continue this conversation and talk a little bit about, hopefully what you see as the positive benefits of what's going on in the world today. But we've run out of time. So thank you, Scott. Thank you, Nelson, for being with us. Federalbrace.com, I think, is the place where you want to go if you're listening and are looking for some shelving options. This has been the Made in America Hour. I'm your host, Greg Owens, on Home Talk USA via the King Broadcasting Network. See you again next week.
Right here to the Made America Show, streaming live on the World Wide Web at King's Broadcasting Net. Welcome all of you. Excuse me, we have .net, it's .com also. But man, it's been a while since my sidekick has been with us, a couple of weeks. He's been traveling the world at abroad. He's back behind the famous Made in America microphone. He's here right now, Mr. Greg Owens. Hey, Greg, welcome back, partner.
Hey, Michael, how have you been? It's been a long trip, but glad to be back in the saddle here.
Well, a lot going on right now, buddy. I'd like to talk with you. I know you stand on top of the trade war, the tariffs, the all sorts of concerns, the stock market, everything that's just coming. Uh, it's being revamped right now. This country's being revamped, and the president promised us it's going to take a little pain, and we're all going to have to feel a little bit of it. But I think at the end of the day, we're all going to be better for it. I actually believe that. But tell us what's going on and what's on your mind, partner.
Well, one of the things I've been involved pretty deeply in this for decades. In fact, I started when I was a kid in college. I have a degree in international business. So that's how long I've been looking at international trade. And it occurred to me as we go through the last week or so of news that most people don't understand what's going on and why it's happening. Why are we throwing tariffs on people? Is it just, are we angry at them? And the answer is no. And the best way that I can explain it without getting into a bunch of heavy economics, talking about current account deficits and trade deficits, is simply, if you had an income of $1,000 a month, and hopefully it's more than that, and you were spending $1,200 a month, well, that's simply not sustainable. And the way that you could get by for a while is you could put that $200 deficit on a credit card, sell a bunch of treasury bills in the case of our government, go into debt with foreign nations to cover the balance, or you could sell off assets, which we've been doing. We've been selling off farmland. You've read about that in the newspaper. But at the end of the day, just like yourself with your own budget, if you're spending significantly more than you're taking in, it's going to end up catching up with you. And we've sort of reached that point where I think even the globalists at the Wall Street Journal would recognize it as a problem. We've amassed, I don't know how many decades of current account deficits, which is our credit card debt, our treasury bills. We now actually, foreigners own more of us than they ever have. And it's just an unsustainable path. And what this is all about is not punishing the EU or any of our friends or even China. It's about bringing the house back into balance. So at the end of the day, what Trump is looking to do and others in his administration are looking to do is not flip the coin on them and sell more to them than they sell to us. It's simply to bring it back into a reasonable balance.
Yeah, and I think the first path of that is a couple of nights ago when the U.S. said it passed what they call it, a roadmap, to the reconciliation. And a couple of nights ago, when they're going to put a lot of the, the border, the money, a whole bunch of stuff's going to be happening soon, right, Greg?
Yeah, and the country, as other countries do, used to depend, the United States used to depend on tariff revenue to pay our bills. And we've lowered our tariffs. Our average tariff rate on imports was like 2.5%, which was the lowest in the world. It kind of makes me laugh a little bit. If it weren't so sad, some of these countries that are pitching a fit and accusing us of being a bunch of xenophobes, they're the ones with the big tariffs. And now we try and put something on similar to theirs, and they're crying foul. It's sort of laughable. But yeah, there is a revenue component to it. But it also, at the end of the day, is going to end up bringing an awful lot of jobs back to the United States, which has been my focus over the last couple of years. It's been what drives the story of our business, and really looking forward to seeing this thing play out. It is not over yet, and it's going to be a little bit of a bumpy road. But at the end of the day, if you're going to do something this big, you have to disrupt the entire process. And that's what's going on right now, is disruption.
Yeah. And it's not just the jobs, which is important, obviously, that's our goal, but it's also the infrastructure that's involved in local communities that provide the manufacture, the plants being open, all the trickle down economics that come down off of the suppliers. It's just a whole benefit, not just and then eventually the tax base increase, your educational base increase, the quality of your quality of your life, and not just the jobs. You know what I mean? It's a whole factor here.
Far beyond the economics, there's a national security component that's at the center of this thing. I mean, back during World War II, we were the most industrialized nation in the world. We were the manufacturer of the world, and we were able to quickly mobilize and get things done. That has deteriorated to the point where, you remember in the pandemic, we were having trouble getting things and other countries cut us off. And, now we need to rebuild that. And in the process, we're going to need a lot of those engineers, a lot of those plumbers and electricians and tradesmen that you're talking about, because we simply don't have them right now. And if we had to mobilize, we'd be in a world of trouble.
Well, people need to remember, under President Reagan, he instituted the largest labor technical school expansion in American history. He knew that all little Johnnies couldn't go to college, that right. you have to have Indians out there. You just can't have all the chiefs. And Reagan recognized that. And for 20 years, we had some great technical colleges. And then now, when a certain other side got in office, they start closing them all down. The funding wasn't there. Matter of fact, we had a technical college in my community that holds about 1,200 to 1,500 students. That's been sitting there for the last 30 years, and they don't even know what to do with it. And then now it slowly got shifted to the community colleges, but it could be such a great component. Can you imagine, educating and licensing electricians and carpenters and plumbers and skilled craftsmanship? So then you're talking about going from minimum wage to, $25, $30, $35, $40 an hour, which improves your quality of life.
Well, that's a great point. And I watched an interview with Bob Lighthizer the other day. Tucker Carlson was interviewing him, and Bob sort of chuckled. He's a great guy. I've met him a couple times. He's really down to earth. And he said, yeah, every time I sit down with the globalists, they always talk to me about, well, you don't understand. If we create all these manufacturing jobs, we're going to have wage inflation. And